What's up, guys? Average Kiwi Guy here. How y'all doing? So, Star Wars Rebels is back. We got the season premiere, and it was pretty damn good. It was a good starter episode, sort of to get us back into the whole Star Wars Rebels thing. I missed it. I missed it personally because for me, Star Wars Rebels has gotten better every single season it's done it. Like I've said previously, first season was a bit sluggish, but then from two onwards, solid, very very good. Great show. Especially being that it was kind of meant to be a kids show to get kids into Star Wars, but it's done a good job. It's done a very good job. And it's gonna be interesting to see if season 4 can actually go above what season 3 did, especially with bringing in Grand Admiral Thrawn and all that. I don't know how much you can top that. I really don't. But it's going to be interesting to see who they bring in and who they show off. And right off the bat, they bring in another character that we've seen before in Star Wars, sort of the timeline and all that. That was Bo-Katan. She was in Clone Wars. The sister of Satine, who was the Duchess of Mandalore, which was pretty cool. Basically, Obi-Wan Kenobi's one true love, really. If there was going to be anyone who was going to, drag Kenobi away from the Jedi Order and turn him into just a normal dude and all the rest, and just, he basically, he would stop him being the Obi-Wan Kenobi that we all know. It was going to be Satine. And Bo-Katan is his sister, and she's had a bit of a troubled past. She was a part of Death Watch, which was not the most well liked group. It was more of a terrorist group for Mandalorians, especially since Mandalore had gone into a pacifist like government. They refused to go into the Clone Wars. They stayed specifically neutral, even though they got dragged into a lot of stuff. But they kind of swore off their warrior past, which for me, I like, now that you're seeing, Mandalorians now fighting in all the armor and stuff, I prefer, the more warrior-like Mandalorians. And this episode definitely went into that. These two episodes, I should say, definitely went into that. Really explaining, why Mandalore looks like the way it does with the, the desert, it's all desert, barring, these domes, which the cities are in. And the armor and all the rest of how much they treasure this the armor that they have. It's not just a piece of equipment for them, it's like their heritage. So it was very cool to see. So right off the bat, we go straight into a fight, really. We're back on Mandalore with Sabine, and she's going and basically trying to rescue her father. He's been captured by Clan Saxon, and under basically the clan that is supporting the Empire and taking over Mandalore, and basically kicked out Bo-Katan when she was actually in charge of Mandalore after Satine was killed. The Jedi put her in control, but the Saxon clan kicked her out when the Empire came, and she refused to obey them. And they are fighting at this outpost, and they think her father's there. And they all rise up out of this canyon, and they all go in and fight. And it's a pretty cool fight. I mean, they're using the jetpacks and stuff. And I think adding that Mandalorian, fighting style into it with the jetpacks and all, just adds to the fight scenes and stuff, because it's not your stock standard, I'm gonna hide behind a box and shoot, or I'm gonna roll and shoot. It's something a bit cooler. It's a lot cooler. And Mandalorians, they know how to fight. There's no stormtrooper on rebels and all that. These aren't just mere rebels. These are actual goddamn stormtroopers. These are actual goddamn Mandalorian soldiers who know how to fight. They're born to fight. And they're flying around. And then the funny thing that they're doing with Ezra in these two episodes is they made him very, I don't know, they made him very clumsy. They made him very, because he's got this jetpack, he's got this Mandalorian jetpack, and he finally got to use one, and he's struggling to use it. And I think they're trying to show, how skilled these Mandalorian warriors are, and how, from basically as from kids and stuff that taught how to use these jetpacks. They're kind of showing like this isn't something that you can just strap on your back and go and use. This is taught into you from a very early age. He's flying around and he's zipping and zapping, and his lightsaber's out and he's kind of twirling in the air, and the stormtroopers are trying to shoot him. It's a little bit of comedy. It's a little bit of comedy in the middle of this this fight. But it was interesting to see how they took a more, I don't know, a little more clumsy, a little more comedic role with Ezra. And again, like what I've stated in the previous season reviews and all that, was they've made a choice now where they're not forcing Ezra to be the focus of every episode. It's not Ezra and this other person, or Ezra and this person. They're allowing characters, and part of the Ghost team to actually have their own episodes, which is great. And these Sabine episodes have been fantastic, especially like exploring her family and exploring her homeworld and being a Mandalorian and all that. They really said, no, we need to stop forcing Ezra to be the main focus of this. Like, he is the central character, but we can't keep forcing him into the middle all the time. And I'm glad that they've decided to do that. So obviously this fight, that it plays out, and it's actually just a trap. It's a trap to keep Sabine and all these sort of rebelling houses that Clan Saxon have. And Tiber, who's taken over from her brother because his brother was killed last season, has taken over as the leader of the Saxon clan, and he sends in some backup for these troopers and for these Mandalorians of his clan, which are two ATST walkers who are still in that Clone Wars look and Clone Wars era style of walker. I know we're a few years out from like New Hope and all that, but I would like to see those walkers get upgraded at some point. They don't have to look like ATSTs exactly, but like prototype versions of those would be quite nice, especially since we're starting to get walkers and all that. It'd be nice to upgrade those a little bit. But they got those, and basically, these fight, the rebels and Ezra and Sabine, all that, they've basically got themselves surrounded, and this is where Bo-Katan comes in, and she, kind of rescues them, saves them, and they get in, and they take down the walkers quite easily. Honestly, if I'm Kanan and I'm Ezra, as soon as I see those walkers, boom, I'm straight there, lightsaber to the legs. It takes them down in like 2 seconds. They're not even a threat anymore. And, the show kind of tries to make them seem like they're really like, oh my god, there are walkers coming. No, that, and they showed this multiple times where, Kanan rocks up to these things and just rips apart its legs. The show should just get on with it and just let them take care of it. I don't think walkers are that, that much of a threat anymore. And then, so they bug out after that. So her father wasn't there. It was a bit of a fake thing just to get them to come there. But they do, her mother, Sabine's mother, comes in and says, hey, we actually do know where he is. He's been transported from, I think he was at their outpost, and or he was at another one, and they're transporting him to the capital city for a very public execution. Because obviously, his clan is, rebelling, and they need to set an example. And it sets up a kind of a cool chase battle scene, which I thought was kind of cool. Yet again, we have the jetpack fights, and which is always, like I said, it's really, really cool. They had speeders, and you had Kanan jumping in, and he was badass on top of the transports and stuff, taking out guys left and right, and jumping on speeder bikes and jumping on all these different jetpack guys, and the addition of the jetpacks and all that just add to all these fights. It's really, really good. And they managed to sort of overwhelm these troopers, and they blind one of the transports with a smoke bomb and stuff like that, or a paint bomb on the windscreen, and it's cool. And Ezra manages to get on board the transport that has Sabine's father on it, and manages to get him out, and they nearly fall off a cliff, but Ezra puts his jetpack on him and sends him away, and then force jumps his way off, off these perfectly placed transports as he jumps along, and then Sabine manages to grab him at the end. But it was a cool fight. It was a cool sort of chase scene fight, and I really enjoyed it. And then we kind of meet Sabine's father for the first time, and he wasn't what I thought he would be. I thought he was gonna be, kind of like Rao, kind of like this badass sort of, gruff Mandalorian, fighting, dad really. But he was more like an art critic. He was more of an artsy guy. He was he was sort of complimenting Sabine on her art, but then sort of criticizing it as well. He's like, oh yes, you have improved, but you still, using this style, and let's not get too carried away on how you're, it's not perfect yet, and you got a long ways to go. And they start, they're saying like, man, your dad's not really like who we thought he was. And apparently he fights with his art, and he fights, he must do like campaign posters or campaign stuff. And it was interesting to, this is sort of where Sabine's artistic sides come from. But then he stated that her creative side always comes from her mother, because her mother has very creative ways on how to hurt people and how to kill people and stuff like that. So okay, like how to defeat her enemies, I think is what they said. So all right, but it was still cool to meet her dad. And this leads into the final scene of the first part of of Heroes of Mandalore, is where the weapon shows up. The weapon, so her mother and her brother are off fighting a diversionary fight with the Clan Saxon, so that the escort that had her father got diverted away and into a canyon where Sabine and all that were waiting. So her mother and her brother are fighting this battle with the Saxon clan, and they're there, and basically what happens is Clan Saxon retreats, or Tiber Saxon retreats, and then sends out this new weapon that they have. And it is basically an arc cannon mounted on an ATST walker. And it's basically right from the beginning, when Sabine hears it, she knows exactly what that weapon is. And it's the weapon that she was actually creating when she was at the Imperial Academy. And this is the weapon that she realized, like, oh my god, you're going to use this on my people, aren't you? Like, you can't do this. She was kind of blinded by her ego and all that. And, she didn't see what the Empire was making her do. And, once she figured out what this weapon was, this Tesla cannon weapon, which was designed specifically to attack Mandalorian armor. Because Mandalorian armor has a certain alloy or certain metal in it. And they created this weapon to specifically attack that alloy, and the arcs, the actual electricity that comes off of it goes directly at that armor, and then superheats it, and then inside everything just basically eviscerates and just freaking you turn to dust. You basically disappear, and it's the perfect weapon to go up against any Mandalorian warrior, because their greatest asset, which is their armor. This is what they, their entire culture essentially surrounds is this armor becomes null and void. And this is also a thing of, this is how the Empire fights when it takes over planets, right? It tries to wipe away every ounce of the culture that you have. And this is what they're trying to do with the Mandalorians. They're trying to wipe away their culture and then replace it with the Empire. It's like, no. You don't need that culture anymore. We don't need you to be those Mandalorian warriors anymore. You don't need that armor. You're with the Empire now. The Empire is your culture. You'll do what we say. That's really what it was all about. And this weapon is the perfect way for the to wipe out the threat of Mandalorian warriors. It really is. And Sabine knows that, and when they go to the site where her mother and her mother and brother are, and they see the devastation, like they're just Mandalorian armor just sitting there with dust all in them, and it's not even, there's no survivors, there's no wounded, there's no nothing, and it's a very powerful weapon, extremely powerful, and instantly Sabine blames herself, and she thinks that her mother and brother are dead, and that's where the first part of the premiere stops, because it's split into 2 episodes. And when the second part starts up, like within 2 minutes, her mother and brother are back. So that emotion that kind of got bored up, and the music, by the way, the music in these 2 episodes were fantastic. I really love the music that they're doing for Rebels. They had a really good music track playing for the end of that first episode that brought out some emotions and stuff like that. But then right into the second part, it all got just nullified. And her mother and brother are fine. Her mother was just a little bit hurt. I think her arm got hit because they were right on the edge of the weapons range, and because Sabine told her to run, they booked it as fast as they could, and they managed to survive on the outskirts of it. So yeah, this tragedy that was about to happen to Sabine, that could have probably could have defined her character a little more and really driven her down a path that could turn her into someone who truly hates, like, just that hatred to the Empire, and a dangerous hatred. And you could see a little bit of it in this next episode, and in part 2 it could have done that to her. But no, this is a kid's show. We can't be going and taking another one of these characters' parents away. Like, we just can't do that. So her mom and her brother are fine. But like, majority of Ren's fighters that were with Sabine's mother and all that were wiped out. They were completely wiped out. And they just they can't believe what happened there. And essentially after that, a lot of the Mandalorians, like Bo-Katan, instantly blames Sabine, because they know, like, as soon as they find out that she was the one who created this, and her father was straight up like, oh yeah, this is what Sabine was creating. My daughter created this. This is what she was doing. Instantly, so Bo-Katan knows already, puts her up against the wall in the ship, because they had to get a quick getaway because some 2 TIE fighters came in, and they had quite a cool scene with Bo-Katan and Ezra fighting with these jetpacks. They have these unbelievable speed capabilities in these damn things. There's no limit to what these jetpacks can do, obviously. They took them out, basically by themselves without any ships. I love the Mandalorian ship look, by the way. The whole twisting thing when it fires and the sound of it, very cool. But anyway, they are on board the ship, and Bo-Katan pins her up against the wall and blames her for creating this cowardly weapon, this weapon specifically designed to kill her people. And essentially this plays out over the next few scenes where several other Mandalorians start going at Sabine about it, and Sabine basically steps up and goes, yeah, I did this. It was a moment of, I got blinded by the challenge. I got challenged to do this. I thought I was doing the right thing. Like, because you got to remember, like, at that point when, the Mandalorians were being sent off to the Imperial Academies and stuff, it was an honor to go to these things. It was an honor because they had sided with the Empire, and I think Clan Saxon had taken over at that point, and Bo-Katan wasn't in power at that point. So, and Clan Ren was quite happily willing to send, Sabine off to the Imperial Academy, and, that's why she was labeled a traitor when she came back, because she had ran away. But she was just doing what she thought was right. So, so she owns up to it. She does say, yeah, I created this weapon. I created this. So I need to own up to it. But Bo-Katan basically comes and says, no, we need Sabine because she can help us beat this thing. And it's true, because Sabine's the only one who knows how it works. Even though the way they defeat it wasn't really too hard. Like, anyone could have gone in there and did what she did, except the way that she adjusted it a little bit, and we'll get into that. But they basically hatch a plan to basically sneak onto Tiber Saxon's Star Destroyer that's sitting outside the capital city, and basically destroy the Duchess, which is what this new weapon's called. And Bo-Katan's not too happy about that because the Duchess refers to Satine, who was the Duchess of Mandalore. So it was a bad choices overall, and that's what Sabine said. She's like, look, I made a whole series of mistakes. My bad, you know. So after the whole battle with, the weapon shows up and all that, they're back on the base and they're trying to figure out a plan for the to get onto the Star Destroyer. Ezra steps up and says, well, if this weapon is specifically designed to attack the minerals that are in your armor, why don't you make your armor out of something different? And every one of those Mandalorians that are there turns to Ezra and looks at him in utter disgust, like you've just insulted everyone's mother right there, And they, Sabine steps up and says, this armor isn't just equipment. Mine is 500 years old. And, we reforged them to make them suit ourselves, but this isn't some mass-produced armor. These are handed down. This armor has seen 500 years of battles, and that's massive for a Mandalorian. Because the way their success was always gauged was how many battles were they in, how many how many did they survive, how many kills, how many all this, how strong a warrior are you? That's why they're so connected to their armor. That's why their culture is so it surrounds these armor pieces. They surround them, and it's it was really cool. It was really cool because I love Mandalorian stuff. Because of like the KOTOR and all that. I know that's not canon anymore, but it really went into like the whole Mandalorian side of stuff when they started getting into the Mandalorian Wars and Revan and all that. I really did love I really do love the Mandalorian stuff. So it was cool for them talking about the armor and how important it is and how they would rather die at the hands of this weapon wearing that armor than give it up. And that kind of plays into how Tiber's own men start questioning him. Like when they start seeing this weapon and going, hang on a minute. What? This weapon could be used to wipe us all out. Why are we doing this? And, Tiber's very imperial loyal and basically swears like, no. We're going to be completely loyal to them, so that means they can't get rid of us. It's like, ha. You keep thinking that, buddy. You keep thinking that. And also, there was a moment where Thrawn actually sees this weapon in action, and even he questions, like, are you going to use this to really destroy one of the main pillars of Mandalorian culture? Because that's kind of Thrawn's thing, is understanding the cultures of his enemies and using that to exploit them and all that. And I don't think he's one for destroying that culture, because he always likes to keep pieces and stuff of planets that he basically takes over, but I don't think he's one to want to completely destroy that stuff. So he still doubted it a little bit. But yeah, so that was a cool thing. And they also went into why the Mandalore looks the way it did, and they sort of Sabine sort of stated that it was always it was about the amount of wars that they've gone through, and just it's the nature of Mandalorians. They are a warrior race, and they've always gone to war with people, and they've always gone to war with each other, and their planet's paid the price for it, and that's essentially what it is. So yeah, they sneak onto this Star Destroyer, and they split up in two groups. Ezra and Kanan and Chop, who was again a very funny points. Had some very funny scenes in this. Was Chop. I love Chop, by the way. I love Chopper. He's a great little droid to add to the group of droids of Star Wars. I love him. They sneak in, and into another part of the Star Destroyer, and they steal the plan. Well, they basically destroy the plans for this weapon, so they can't create this again. And Rao kind of has to hold off these Imperials in the hangar, because sort of tie them up, because they get found out right away, as they always do. And Sabine and Bo had to go off and sort of destroy the core of this weapon, because they see the walker and it has like the projectors and all that, but the core of it was taken away and was sort of being tinkered with. And basically they were waiting for Sabine to show up, because Sabine's the only one who can make it work properly. Because of what she did when she left, she basically hindered its range and hindered its overall power, and made it not so that entire armies could get wiped out. As it is right now, it could only go over a very small amount of small distance. So Tiber needed Sabine to show up and kind of sets a trap for her. Sets the generator on a low yield and basically stuns them, and it's essentially like Force Lightning, and it looks like Force Lightning, and it's definitely where I think the creators of the show and the directors and the art directors and stuff of this, I think they took they took the whole Force Lightning thing. It's like, how can we turn that into a weapon? We'll do it this way. It's essentially what that is, and it's, of course, it only targets Sabine and Bo, because she's wearing her armor. So basically, Tiber has them pinned down, and one of Tiber's own men starts questioning him, and he puts him in because he's still wearing his own Mandalorian armor. So he goes in, but Tiber's not. Tiber's wearing stormtrooper-like armor, and Sabine, he threatens to shoot Bo-Katan, and he says, unless Sabine fixes this weapon, I'm going to shoot her. I'm going to kill her. And Sabine's like, no, I'll do it. But we all knew, because they had discussed this previously, where I wonder if we could, change this weapon enough so that it would go after stormtrooper armor. And that's what Sabine does. She tinkers with it. She pushes a whole bunch of buttons, typical Star Wars, and it completely changes what this weapon does now. And it attacks stormtrooper armor now. And Tiber goes down. And, all the stormtroopers on the ship go down. And it completely nullifies everyone. And it would be the perfect weapon to go up against the Empire with. Because it would completely wipe out the Imperials. Until they switched out the armor, of course. Because they're less attached to the armor as what the Mandalorians are. And they could have just gotten some new type of armor. But it would be very handy to go up against the Empire with. And even Sabine starts talking like this. Like, no, this is the only way that we can fight the Empire. Like, we have to do this. And that's when Bo comes in and says, no, Sabine, we can't do this. We don't fight this way. Would you rather fight with fear or with hope? Like in typical Star Wars. And kind of turns Sabine around. And throughout this episode, you see Bo kind of looking at Sabine as, I need to kind of keep an eye out for this girl. Maybe even mentor her a little bit. Because, her and Rao are speaking, in the hangar, and they're sort of saying, Rao sort of looks to her and says, you're kind of enamored with her as I am, aren't you? Like, you can see what she could be. And, she says, yeah, she could be a Mandalorian that could lead us to a better tomorrow, essentially. And that's basically, where, this is why she sort of tries to turn her away from a darker side that she was going down. And Sabine ends up destroying the core, which overloads and destroys the entire ship. So, again, it wasn't too hard to defeat, but without Sabine being there, they probably wouldn't have gone off the ship as easy as they did. So, it was a cool ending to it, because they really they saw that struggle that Sabine sort of is going through, I could easily have used this weapon just like Tiber did, but for a different reason. But those, just because it's, to defeat the Empire doesn't mean that it's a good reason. We have to do it the better way. We don't have to become them to beat them, sort of thing. So it was a good end to the that sort of part. And they have another little bit at the end where basically they make Bo-Katan the leader of the three clans of Mandalore. She's the one that they all respect, because Sabine's just not there yet. She's still young. She's still learning things, and even she says that, like, she tried to offer her the Darksaber earlier on, and Bo-Katan's basically said no. I failed as a leader of Mandalore. I let the Empire come in here. I failed as a leader. That saber is not mine. But all of the clans, like including the Protectors and all that, stepped up and said, no, you're the leader that we need. You're the leader that can unite the clans, and we'll follow you. And yeah, Sabine gives over the Darksaber, and yeah, Bo-Katan becomes the leader. And it's pretty cool. It was pretty cool. I think she bringing Bo in, just linked. It's more links. It's more of the tying it all in together. I love that stuff. And it was cool. It was cool. But it will be interesting to see if Sabine stays on Mandalore or continues with the rebels. There was a look between her and Ezra. I don't know if that means she's going to go with them or not. I wouldn't be surprised if she does either way. Like, I don't know if I wouldn't be surprised if she stays on Mandalore to help free her own people, or if she chooses to go with the rebels and trust that Bo can handle everything without her. Because now she's kind of done her job, as in, I found the Darksaber. It came to me because I was the one who was meant to give it to you. And that doesn't mean that Sabine can't become that leader. I don't think that in any way. I think Sabine could become that leader later on. We don't know. That's going to be the interesting thing with this season. This season, because it's the final season, we have to kind of find out where they sit. Where do all these characters eventually end up in the rebellion? Because we do know that Hera and Chopper and the Ghost, they all survive. In Rogue One, they mention General Syndulla, that's Hera, and we saw Chop, and we did see the Ghost several times. So we know they do survive. We know that they still go, but there's no mention of these two Jedi rocking around with lightsabers and all that, or badass Mandalorian warriors helping out the rebellion. So it's going to be interesting to see where everyone settles down by the end of it. A little bit of a side note, there was a nice little flirtation between Kanan and Hera when they were on. He was talking to her on a holo call. I'm glad they're getting back into that relationship. I really am, because just because this is a kids show doesn't mean you can't do the whole love story stuff. Like, there's no reason you can't do that. They tinkered with it at the start. In the first couple of seasons, they went away from it for a while. Now I think they're going to try and wrap it up and really kind of hammer it home, I think, and really make those two something. So hopefully, look, they just got to stay in one place together for a certain amount of time. That's really what's going to happen, because the past few seasons, Kanan's been over here, and Hera's been over here, and they've never really been in the same team, because Hera's always been off with the rebellion and Kanan's off doing random Jedi stuff with Ezra. So they've never had that chance for a long time. So now I think they'll finally get that. But yeah, good solid start. Good solid start to the season. I'm very happy with it. Hopefully it'll all just play out nicely, and we'll get some really good stories. And we'll finally figure out where all these people sit in the basically in the whole Star Wars story. Like where do they all go? We know where a few end up, but we don't know exactly where this will play out. And then after that, it's where's the future for the another series to come along, and where will it go, and what timeline will it sit in? So it's a good time for Star Wars. It's a damn good time for Star Wars, and I'm loving it. But yeah. All right, guys, that's it for us. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll catch you next time. Peace. Bye.